Now, you would think after 30 or 40 years in a foreign country, every immigrant would want to go back home to retire, right? Because home, the weather is warmer, life is cheaper, and the memories run deep. But here is the truth, guys, the reality. Many of us end up not going back. And here is why. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Zawi. This is Cecilia, and I have been in the diaspora for slightly over 25 years now. So if you are like me, thinking of going back home in your 60s, this video is for you. I want to share with you 5 main reasons why many immigrants choose to stay in their adopted countries when retirement comes. Now, let's start with the biggest one. Our children were raised here, they work here, and their lives are well rooted in the foreign land. So going back might actually mean leaving behind not just your children, but the grandkids too, friends, and your entire support system. It's not easy, guys, to walk away from the Sunday dinners, to the birthday parties, even just walking away from an environment where you might end up being needed for some reason by your family, community, or friends. Now, going to point number 2, after 20 or 30 or 40 years in a foreign country, most of us have built our entire lives here. Homes, routines, and communities. Now, even if or no matter how we miss home, it often feels more like a memory rather than a place we can return to. And the truth is, we may not fully feel at home there anymore, especially if you've never visited back home in the longest, like 10, 15, 20 years. Now, the dilemma is we may also not fully feel at home here too. So we end up being caught up in between, which is one factor most immigrants would rather not even talk about or even think about. And it's the most strange space to be caught up in between the two worlds. Now, healthcare and stability is a huge factor too, because in most of these Western countries, we have easy access to reliable and sometimes even free medical care. I know some countries like the UK, like Canada, they offer free healthcare to their citizens, but not all of them like that. So not easy to part with those kind of arrangements. And going back home might actually mean losing access to medications, to the doctors we've known and who know us, have known us rather for such a long period of time. And for those who don't have free healthcare in their countries, it might also mean losing your health insurance, the most scariest of things, because in most of the countries we want to go back to, we may not be eligible to register for healthcare plans anymore, because some of them have a 60-year limit. After 60 years, they won't be taking you, or some different rules, and you end up losing your insurance in your adopted country, and at the same time, you may not even qualify to buy insurance in your birth country. So that also puts you in a situation where you end up not knowing exactly where to belong, whether to go back and then the easiest thing obviously would be to stay in your foreign country. Thing is, when you are younger, in your 20s and 30s, like our kids, you don't think much about these things. But once you hit 60 and you start to think about retirement, these issues become real, guys. And it might just be easy to do what's most convenient, which will be to stay in the foreign country. Now, there's also this reality that home or our countries of birth, where we come from, have changed. Home has changed. no longer the same places we left many, many years ago. The people are different, the pace of life, and most people you may have known some years ago have also left the country. Some have passed on, or they've just relocated to other parts of the same country. Now, because most of these people back home may also have changed or evolved, you find even their values may become a bit unfamiliar despite the fact that you have come from there. So what we remember, the smell of food, the neighbors, the streets have just become memories, guys. Just memories. Why I say their values may become unfamiliar or they may have changed is growing up in Africa, we have known that families, extended family members come, they visit, they stay, and they didn't have to bring anything. If they did, maybe a bucket of peanuts if they are coming from the country, maybe a chicken, or maybe a cabbage, just to be at your family with you for a day or two or even a week. But now the values have changed. Coming from the diaspora and you plan to go back, just visiting, guys. You find when you go and join some, I'm not saying all family members, if you go to somebody's house for a day or 2 days or maybe 3, by the time you leave, you probably have spent a lot more than you would if you had just stayed in your own space, which makes it very expensive for diasporans trying to get back home. So this is why some are trying to get their own places to live, but it also comes with its own challenges, because if you cannot be physically back home to build your own space, it comes with its own dynamics too. So rather than go through all those challenges, emotional turmoil, people just get confused. The values have become unfamiliar. People have changed. It's not the same way we have grown up. Some people would rather just stay in the foreign land. Don't get me wrong, because most immigrants have changed too. After having lived in foreign land or country for 30, 20, 40 years, you have changed in ways that you may not even notice yourself. But when you go back home, people see it, that now she's or he's and she's behaving. So whilst their values may become unfamiliar, we are also taking unfamiliar values back to our countries, which makes it sometimes a bit of a challenge for us to be together. You may have different expectations or a new way of thinking or habits that may not be welcome at all, and you end up being misunderstood. And some of these habits may actually feel out of place back home. Worse still, our kids. Adults are better and it's easier because we know how we grew up and easy to adjust between the two worlds. For our kids, is totally out. Having realized this, we end up noticing that we don't belong 100% in either places, back home or in the foreign land. And that's something a lot of immigrants end up living with quietly. Most immigrants would want to dream that they would go home and retire in the towns where they grew up or where they have grown up. But as the years went by or continue to get by, they realize that the friends are no longer there. The neighborhoods have changed. Everything looks different. The values I've talked about, the way they are misunderstood, people have changed, we've changed too. So they end up asking themselves, what does home really mean? A lot of immigrants are beginning to realize that home is not just a place where you were born, but sometimes where you are needed, where you are understood, I would love to hear your thoughts, guys. If you thought about retiring back home or retiring here, drop a comment below in the comment section and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because I know there's so many of us just going through this reflection at the moment. Now, thank you for spending this time with me, guys. If you found this video reliable, informative, and helpful, even thought-provoking, don't forget to comment, to share, and to subscribe. This is Cecilia, Zawi TV. Until next time, bye-bye.